One down in the government's list of priority bills, President Aquino this week signed the Tax Incentive Monitoring and Transparency Act, or TIMTA, a law that seeks to keep tax incentives enjoyed by businesses under the government's close watch. The government says increased transparency and accountability among local businesses will encourage foreigners to invest in the Philippines. But business groups are at the other end of the spectrum. John Forbes, Senior Advisor of the American Chamber of the Philippines, is here with us to tell us what he thinks. So, John, you've seen the latest version, so are you happy with it?
Yes, thank you, Jean. Thank you. Good morning for inviting us to be on your show. Well, the business community, both Philippine and foreign chambers and business groups, worked very hard on this bill with the House Ways and Means Committee and the Senate Ways Committee and the DTI and the BIR and DOF to make sure that what the President signed was something that does not impose anything on the business community, yet at the same time does provide the accountability and transparency that the new law seeks.
You were very active, and the group was very active in expressing their concerns with what was the initial versions of the bill. Were those addressed in the final version?
Yeah, I think so, because we have to look at the purpose of fiscal incentives, right? They're controversial, but competition in other countries offers them. And the Philippines does have some challenges to investors in terms of business expenses or infrastructure being out of date and inefficient. And there are many advantages here, of course, as well. So generally, countries do offer fiscal incentives. For example, Thailand, where the Ministry of Finance has just done a study, has proposed offering incentives of up to 14 years income tax holidays.
Wow. That's very much bigger than what we have here in the Philippines.
Yes, here it's limited to 8 years maximum. And unfortunately, there's a thinking in the Department of Finance that is very short-sighted. They're trying to get the maximum taxes historically out of investors who need the incentives to come here to, as I say, compensate for some of the high business costs, such as the price of electricity and the number of holidays, which are twice as many here as they are in Vietnam, for example. So the income tax holidays are very important in order to create jobs in the Philippines, and then that produces income for the public sector from the spending of the employees who have better jobs and, of course, even their income taxes, which are fairly high.
How does this TIMTA now encourage investors to come in?
I don't think it encourages investors because it actually imposes another type of red tape.
So you're not happy about this?
No, well, no, that's not the case, because
you're just saying that it's not an additional incentive for them.
It came up in the last Congress, late in the last Congress, when it was proposed. It originated in the Department of Finance. We were called, many of the business groups were called in by Secretary Priestman and explained their intention. And they did really want to know how much in the way of fiscal incentives, of exemption from the 12% VAT on imports, and the like, was being given. And that's the end result of the law. But the law requires NEDA to collect not only the information on the amount of incentives, but also the information on the number of jobs created, the amount of exports, and the total amount of investment. So I think it's good, and we're all satisfied. We've cooperated with the government on getting this done, and in 60 days or 90 days, by April 15 and the months after that, those reports will be filed with the 14 investment promotion agencies.
Now, what else should government be focusing on to encourage investors to come in after this step?
We need several more sessions to be able to question adequately, but infrastructure is the top of the list. In many ways, in the past, it was corruption. Now, the corruption problem has gone down. The country has become more competitive, but infrastructure is the top priority, and I think it will remain that for quite a period of time. Another thing we should focus about is policy stability. We see in various ways a new secretary comes in at the Department of Health and re-examines the Philippine orthopedic, and then there's a decision for the investor to pull out, and that tends to affect the reputation of the entire PPP
And I guess those
program.
issues will definitely come into focus again with the coming election.
Well, if you have a new president, you don't want him to start all over again.
From step one. Thank you,
or
John.
her. Thank you.
When we come back, at long last, an antidote to dengue. Stay with us.